If you're like me, sometimes I have content that I need to create a presentation for, but the creativity aspect is where I struggle. In that instance, it may be best to outsource some of that preparation by going to a tool like NotebookLM and having it create a slide deck for you that you can edit along the way. This can be helpful if the biggest struggle for you is getting started. Let's move over to NotebookLM to see how to do this. Here's a notebook that I created using some basic information about the perception process. Perception is one of the subjects that I teach in my basic communication course. So to find information first, and you can see that I've already loaded some in here, you can come over to the Add Sources button or search the web directly for sources. When I click the Add Sources button, it populates that same search bar where I can dictate what type of research I'm doing, or I can drag and drop files in, websites, even YouTube videos, files from my drive if I've already done the research myself, and I want the notebook to reference the notes that I have for that particular section and create the slide deck off of that. What I'll do first is I will search perception process to show you what this fast search aspect does. As you can see, it's currently researching websites. In just a second, it'll populate with a few sources. Right now, the sources I have loaded in, there are 10 of them, but the ones that just populated with the fast research, I can click view to look at them. And then I can select which sources I want. Right now it has all of them selected. I can deselect that, go through and pick what I want to use. What I should do is that I should vet these sources before I put them into my notebook. You would go through that process on your own, and then once you've decided you have the right sources, then you move forward with that. I'm going to delete that because I've actually already got sources loaded in here. In the center with the chat is where I could actually have an ongoing dialogue, but what I'm trying to show you is this slide deck, which you can see is currently in a beta version. So I've already done this. I did this yesterday to kind of play around with it. I also played around with the infographic beta down here, but what I'm showing you right now is the slide deck that it created. So when I click that, you can see it came up with multiple slides, which look quite visually appealing, in my opinion at least. This is something that it wouldn't just be a matter of time for me to take care of, but it's just not an end result I would ever reach otherwise. So I'm going to expand the viewer first so that we can look at this a little more in depth. You can see it created some great slide design. I can click through these if there are any slides that stand out to me. This I can tell is from the Joe Harry window, as you see it mentions in there, which is something I have actually used in my perception unit before. And yeah, I can see if there are any slides that stand out for me. It also gives me option to revise. So if this slide right here, if there was something I didn't like about that particular slide, I can prompt it to make those changes for me. It gives the example there of centering the image, making the title shorter, whatever that might be. But I actually really like this slide right here that deals with proximity, or this image I mean. Maybe it's just that I want to focus on that, and so I would take off the others. So I would say, keep the proximity graphic, but remove the others. And then I would generate a revised deck. It only took a couple of minutes for it to generate the new slide based off of what I prompted it. So when I click this revised version, you can see everything at the top is still the same. But let me move down to that slide where I asked it to make the edit. Now it removed the other graphics and it kept the graphic feeling proximity. Granted, it does look a little bit different at this point. If that was something I wanted to move forward with, I could just move on to the next slide. One thing I do want to warn you about though, is that as you're making these edits, if you have a free version like I do, and I'm trying to highlight free versions of tools so that you're not having to pay for something, but that free version does mean that you're not going to be able to make maybe as many edits as you would want to in a single day. You're not going to be able to create multiple presentations in one day. You would need to space this out over time. So if we're talking about summer planning, or we're looking at revising one unit as opposed to all at one time, this really could be a great option for you. Using AI doesn't mean that we should sacrifice the quality of our content. One thing that is so important to our preparation as teachers is the internalization of the lesson. What I would not recommend is using this as a fallback the day going into a lesson. What I would do instead is set up a time for yourself to truly look at, revise, and familiarize yourself with these slides before you're attempting to give them in a presentation. In the same way that we wouldn't want our students to simply quickly get done with an assignment and move on, we want to make sure that we're modeling good use of these programs for our students.